Following is a metacognitive reflection on a short story entitled Solid Memories of the Lifespan of Tulips and Sunflowers. It's from a collection called Pictures of Houses with Water Damage by Michael Hemmingson. It is a pretty complicated narrative. The story begins with the protagonist seeing a UFO. His name is David, and he's pretty shaken up, but what we soon learn is that he's not so much shaken up from having seen the UFO as from the memory that it brings back, and that memory is the night of senior prom when the girl he was in love with was abducted by a UFO. In the next paragraph, he arrives home to his apartment, and his current girlfriend, Anne, says that she's met another man, Bill, and she believes she's in love with him and is going to leave David. David's life is in turmoil. He is trying to make sense of the past, essentially, and he enlists the help of a friend of his who happens to be a psychologist and a hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, and the hypnotherapist puts him under, and David relives the night of senior prom and of the girl he was in love with being abducted by this UFO. And in the memory, he sees the lights and sees the girl disappear. This was a very traumatic time in David's life. His high school girlfriend became pregnant, and he was very conflicted about this, about going to senior prom and being confronted with the possibility of being a father right out of high school. To complicate matters, the night of senior prom, he and his girlfriend ended up back in a motel room, and she loses the baby in the bathroom. So it's a very dramatic, very traumatic experience for David. On one level, the story can be looked at as a defense mechanism, a memory from someone who's lived through a traumatic experience. But on another level, it's got a sci-fi element to it. I have to consider the fact that I know a little bit about Michael Hemmingson. We're Facebook friends, and I know he has somewhat of an obsession with UFOs. He posts pictures of UFOs regularly and posts periodical articles about UFO sightings and UFO abductions. Now, whether Michael Hemmingson believes in UFOs or not, I'm not positive. He seems pretty sincere with his obsession. I'm not sure if the whole thing has a kitsch value to him or if he flat out believes in it. But it definitely plays into my interpretation of the story. Now, the story ends with David, somewhat having come to grips with what happened. Night of senior prom. He goes back after the hypnotherapy session, and he revisits the spot, the location where the abduction allegedly took place, and he says this: "None of it ever happened, of course. I needed to get more in tune with reality. Walking back to my car, I passed a young couple headed for my tree. I smiled at them. The boy looked away. The girl smiled back bashfully. I was just some old geek to them, I'm sure. I got into my car and drove home. Now, all's well and good. However, the next line is this. From the sky, a flying, glowing disc appeared and hovered for a moment over my car and flew away. I got out and watched it." So the story ends with David seeing another UFO. And this for me is the image that I use to try and understand the story. This is my visualizing technique. I see David standing there with a befuddled expression on the side of the highway, looking up into the night sky. In a sense, for me, he's a modern day Don Quixote. Instead of chasing windmills, he is chasing UFOs. And I didn't realize this until after I pretty much finished my journal reflections, the picture I have in my mind of David is actually of Michael Hemmingson. Now, I don't know how autobiographical this story is, but for me, my knowledge of Michael Hemmingson and my reading the story have somehow come together, and I see David in the form of Michael Hemmingson standing there on the road, looking up at the night sky as the UFO heads back to other worlds. Um, like I said, it's a complicated story; can be read on different levels. I'm not sure that there is a correct interpretation. Hemmingson also, something I know about him, he also writes genre work aside from his personal fiction, which this story is. He also writes noir. He writes sci-fi. So anyway, I invite all of you to read this great story from this wonderful collection. Once again, the title is "Solid Memories Have the Lifespan of Tulips and Sunflowers." Pictures of houses with water damage. Michael Hemmingson.